Stillness in abundance, love and light, health and wholeness. Stillness in abundance, love and light, health and wholeness. Stillness in abundance, love and light, health and wholeness to the cosmic consciousness, soul control, family, and soul drive. Hope everybody feeling good for no reason at all, operating at the highest frequency of your true and authentic self. Just getting the atmosphere right. Little sage and Palo Santo toe going. What are you telling yourselves? What are you telling yourselves? And most of all, what are you telling yourselves to do for you? That's a deep question. Because in self-application and mental application, it shows us a work to be done. When I ask myself, what am I telling myself? CELLS. Because 9 times out of 10, the things that we telling ourselves, even if most people don't tell themselves nothing at all, I'm aware of this. But in what I'm sharing, it's going to share. It's going to give insight and enlightenment on why we should talk to ourselves. What we tell ourselves is what's activating in ourselves. We got 1 million, I don't know how many million cells, little selves going on in us that depend on us. And most of us unconscious of it. So when I be reflecting on different conversations and consultations that I have with the different people that I have it with through the work that I do, it's a beautiful blessing because it's never just one-sided. I grow from every encounter and every interaction that I have with everyone in my life stream. And the beauty about that is when we begin to be more open-minded with the occurrences in our life, we all do every day. You don't have to be a spiritual practitioner to come into the insight of these things that I'm talking about. We live it every day. That's why I choose the things to talk about that I do instead of teach somebody some spiritual practices, because spiritual practices don't necessarily give people the mental application to balance what you're learning spiritually and what you're living through in this physical. What are you telling yourselves? And as I said, in our observation in ourselves, and then being able to observe others without judgment, the same way we don't judge most of us don't judge ourselves in judgment, but we're quick to judge others. I'm not excluded from anything that I say. However, I'm using what I say as a teaching tool for all of us. We usually can see through our observations where people at according to what we go through. We all get to see this about whoever we know, wherever we know somebody. Depending on our level of perception, it's going to determine how we seeing what we seeing. And most times, many of us are only developing the tools to really see what's in front of us beyond what's appearing in front of us. My point is, when we no longer control ourselves, we will find ourselves losing more control of ourselves. As within, so without. We got to start really understanding what this means and prioritizing from within and without. It's a beautiful day to be feeling good. I didn't say as usual, but I am feeling good for no reason at all. Operating in the truest, highest, authentic, and best version of my present self. It's good to be elevating into higher waves, you know, for those of us who tapping into our broadband frequency. Yeah, it's good to be elevating into higher waves, higher understanding of this thing that we call life, and higher approaches in our way to deal with it. Who learned something new today? You know, regardless of where you learned it at or who it came through, who learned something new today? Or did anybody learn something new today? I try to make it my business to learn something new every day. And it's a good addiction to learn something new every day. Whether it's through reading, whether it's through something we see, through something we hear, or what have you. The reason being, the more we're able to learn, especially and so much to be unlearned, the more we're able to learn, we're still activating connections in our brain that cause activation in our heart. Keep us alive. More so, what we learn has to merge with what we feel. And what we feel has to merge with what we know. So what we know can be in accordance with our actions. Otherwise, we see things popping up that when they do pop up, most times, because we don't understand what's popping up, we feel that it shouldn't be popping up according to the nature that whatever popping up in the first place. You hear me? My point, what we know has to be in sync with what we feel to be in match with our frequency and our energy, or we get a knee-jerk reaction. It's one thing to know that we are gods. It's another thing to know that we are a piece of God to be able to call ourselves God in the first place. And then it's another thing to know is to learn how to get in sync, be in application and operation with this thing that we call God as a piece and part of it, though it's bigger than us. And the reason why I'm stressing this because I'm witnessing people get knocked out of position, knocked out of their places by getting on spiritual high horses and thinking, or not in thinking, but in failing to remember, man, that this thing that give us life is bigger than us, man. It's been operating before we came to be able to feel and live in and witness its operation. And words don't be able to describe and words don't be able to describe it. We are only humans trying to come in to understanding of what divinity and being divine is. So words don't do the justice of this thing that we all here experiencing. But the worst thing that we could do is think that we bigger than it. And don't expect the downfall. I don't know who I'm talking to. We are a piece of God. And as pieces, all of us here playing a part on this, in this mess that we made on this stage of life. As pieces, we become mirrors. We are mirrors. We don't become anything. We are mirrors. We all reflect something in each other. But at the same time, as a mirror, being a mirror, we also become triggers. and activate things in each other, sometimes at unwanted times. And that's part of the journey too. It shows us what we have to balance. We are mirrors one to another, and because of that, we might reflect something that's not willing to be looked upon at any given time, as well as we might compliment something that may come as a surprise because we don't see it in ourselves. As we increase the light in us, it will cause things to rise up that may irritate, aggravate, frustrate, and confuse us at sometimes or others. But the light is here to do just that. It's here to irritate the things in dark places so we can do what's necessary to bring healing and balance to it. That's how we that's how we triumph from one stage to the next, as we shed layer after layer. And one obstacle don't overweigh the next. You know, one unwanted event don't outweigh the next. We gotta get out of that me versus you. My pain worse than your pain. We all experience pain from the levels that we are able to experience, and from that place we try to understand it. So it's no competition. It's no competition. Besides, those who are competing, how many are able to explain it and show somebody else the process to heal it? So a lot of people don't have no room to say anything if you're not being a part in this healing process. The worst part of our lives is over with. I said all that to say that. The worst part of our lives is over with. If everything is just a learning experience, and anything that we experience is only experienced in our mind, then our mind is the only thing to get a grip of. And when we control our mind, we control the reality, at least as it affects us. We can't control what happens, but we can control how we're affected by it. And that's where our power lies. But it gives us an opportunity to choose wisely, to win control over our own life. We're able to choose more wisely. And I'm going to end it with that because I'm in between the break. I got some other things to do. Everybody remain to feel good for no reason at all. Remaining the truest, highest, authentic, and best version of your now self. And if you're not in that place, do everything that you can to get into that space. Sometimes you got to motivate somebody else to get in the space that you want to be. Sometimes you got to inspire somebody else to get in that space that you want to be. Sometimes you got to encourage somebody else to get in that space you want to be. Keep it icy, man. I love y'all. Saiwoodagod. Peace, family.